you need stuff for the mini episodes, Mike. Otherwise, they're bare. They're sparse little tiny sugar bars. Instead of big sugar bars, you get these tiny sugar bars, Mike.
I get both.
So
I got both my partners here at once. Both are offering to make me cookies and bars. What more could a Mike want?
This has gotten so weird, so good.
Hello to this cold war with you and you and you and you and you and me. You flinch, you flee in this power fantasy.
Welcome back to You Gotta Check This Out. Somehow, against all odds, we got through Babylon 5. A feat
What?
I did not
What's
expect.
that?
I'm Dre Alvarez, and you might have just heard Mike Slater. We are co-hosts. You Gotta
Still
Check This
coming out
Out.
of a daze here. I don't know what's going on. We're about to podcast, and I have no screens of Babylon 5 or people with crazy hair around me. Oh, just you, Dre. There you go. You look kind of like a Centauri.
Yeah. Appreciate it. That means I got here.
Yeah, it's getting the wings cut tips coming out. Really nice there. And do Londo.
If this happens to be your first episode of You Gotta Check This Out, Mike and myself choose things we think you gotta check out. Mike let me go first, and I cheated and picked Babylon 5, which took us a year. And as mentioned, somehow we got through it. As an FYI, since obviously this show is about creativity and our topic, which will be the Power Fantasy, Volume 1, the fantastic Kieron, Gillen, and Casper Wijngaard, the Power Fantasy. It is out. It is in graphic novel form. There are 3 of them out. It is on hiatus. That is the only warning. This is a great show to listen along. Read it before you listen to us, for the love of God.
This is the second best time to read the Power Fantasy. It's an Image comic. They're about to start the next part of the series sometime later this year. We still don't know the release date yet, but in the meantime, the 3rd volume just came out. There's only 16 issues. It's pretty quick to catch up on.
Yeah, so unlike Babylon 5, which the premises of this thing is massive, you don't need to imbibe it all. Mike and I will get you caught up. We have the flip side this time. This is very palatable. Eat it and enjoy us as dessert, hopefully, and that is the plan. And Mike, after a year of gods fighting each other, really being an excuse for the author to talk different philosophies and things while using a thinly veiled metaphor to modern politics. After a year of that, we said, let's take a break. And so as mentioned, we did the Power Fantasy. So Mike, could you sum up the Power Fantasy for me and then introduce our guest as well?
The best way to describe what the Power Fantasy is, other than just a comic, is what Kieron Gillen once said. His pitch is, what if Watchmen had 6 Dr. Manhattans? Or what if you and your 5 messiest mates had to not fall out or the world would end? It's a Cold War type fantasy political strategy between different powers. We have people with superpowers, and he just literalized the actual name superpower, meaning a nation with the capability to destroy the world if they wanted to with their nuclear arsenal. Well, let's just make those 6 different characters and have those be the main characters and tell a story about it. It's something really good, but I think before we go any further, Dre, we need to bring on our guest who has been waiting patiently for us to get through what this whole thing's about. Dre, you want to introduce our guest this time?
Whoa, we're flipping the script. Introducing the guest. Carin Slater is back. We did give you your flowers, Carin, on the last episode, the very last episode of Babylon 5. But just as a note, if you're a fan of this podcast, Carin, you were hugely instrumental in starting to book the guests on the show, which has just become a staple. Like, we have to have guests. It went from Mike and me blabbing to each other, 2 guys on a podcast, tale as old as time, to that. But of course, and then you were the first guest. So we have the returning Carin Slater, the very first guest. You are a email marketing expert, had the great podcast with Megan Bushhouse, and then also have a great podcast with your child, Andy, on reading books.
It's called Hey, Have You Read This Yet? And Andy was very excited to do the podcast. They were like, let's do a podcast with you. I want to do a podcast with you, Mom. And I was like, I want you to read not Dogman. So let's do a podcast where I introduce you to other books and you can introduce me to books. But their choices are usually books we've already read before. But I was like, that's fine, as long as I also get to choose something and put new books out there. But yeah, so we read like kids' books and introduce Andy to new books. I like baking too, but that's not something I can share with anybody unless they live near us. So.
Oh, you get to share it with me all the time, Carin.
I do. And I just saw a recipe for sugar cookie bars, so I'm thinking I might make those tomorrow. Sorry, Dre.
It's going to be a good.
And sorry, Mike. Yeah, it's me. It's what I do.
Oh, go ahead. Dre wants a tangent. Go ahead, Dre. Yeah. Tangent.
You need stuff for the mini episodes, Mike. Otherwise, they're bare. They're sparse little tiny sugar bars. Instead of big sugar bars, you get these tiny sugar bars, Mike.
I get both. So I got both my partners here at once. Both are offering to make me cookies and bars. What more could a Mike want?
This has gotten so weird so quick. Okay. But Carin, on the last episode, we revealed that you and Carl Wolf were in a heated rivalry for who had been on the show the most. And there was balance. But then with this show, Mike has upset the balance. So very much as if there were people that were balancing to keep things in line, and you couldn't let one of them get like an extra superpower or something bad would happen. Mike may very well have done that in this episode, tipping it, because Mike, you were hiding it in a singularity. You were hiding Carin in a singularity until Power Fantasy. Did I tie it all together, Mike, to get us into the book? You
sure did, yeah. Carl's just had his 6th appearance. This is going to be your 5th appearance, Carin, and then when the mini comes out for this, you're going to be the #1 guest at 7 appearances.
Well, that just means we need to do something else with you guys. Check it out. I don't know. We could do books. We could do board games. I would love to come back and talk about board games. I have to say, I was highly amused when you said I was in a heated rivalry, because heated rivalry means something completely different to me, Dre. And I was like, no,
please don't let my wife be in a heated rivalry with one of my best friends. Please.
Okay, so now on that note, because this is a fun thing, I believe, Carin, you brought that up as something you got to check out. Mike, if after stalling this train, I'll get us rolling along to hopefully make up for it.
It's okay. I'm going to put it on the board. We got a pin in that one. I'm still tracking it. Okay, cool. 2 tangents in. Go, Dre.
There we go. But the show is called You Got to Check This Out. Something we do typically do is make sure our guests tell us that. Do we want to do that up top, Mike, or at the end?
I think we should do it both, just to cover our bases.
Oh, let's do a bookend. So, Carin, you got to have 2. So 1 now. You got to save 1 now, 1 for later.
The first one is a book series. One of the books is called Assistant to the Villain. I can't remember if that's the first one or not, but it's a really cute fantasy book. Because there's a romance, but it's not like, it doesn't get into it. It's just super cute and like snarky, and the banter, and it's so good, and I love it so much. And I recommended it to Megan Bushhausen ages ago. And then she started reading it and like live texting me as she was reading it about stuff that was happening. And it made me so remember it fondly that I went out and bought the books and then started reading it along with her. So there were supposed to be 3. The third one, I finished the third one and realized, no, she switched it to 4. So now there's supposed to be 4 books, but the first 3 are out and you can read them, and they are just delightful.
Absolutely love it. All right, Mike, clearly now we're ready to start the episode.
We go to our first segment of Previously On.
Previously on
Power Fantasy. To move over from Babylon 5 to the Power Fantasy, we should talk a little bit about how the Power Fantasy started.
Ooh, I love it. So, cool.
Yeah, so like previously on, before there was no Power Fantasy, and we had writer Kieron Gillen. He had worked with Casper Wijngaard on a few projects beforehand, and the whole inception for the project came when he was working on an X-Men book in the Krakoa era, so this would be like the early 2020s. Kieron Gillen was writing for these Omega-level mutants who, if you think about it, could destroy the entire world if they ever came to blows. And the thought was like, wow, like, how could I ever write a fight scene for the X-Men book? They become so powerful if, like, Apocalypse or you will be destroyed, and Magneto, I will destroy you back in turn, and they just, it'd explode the entire world if they let out on each other. So he wanted to write a story where he would say, what if these superpowers actually exist? How would they deal with each other in that they couldn't fight, but still write a superpower comic? And then the other thing he was thinking about is that Professor X would be up to all kinds of shady shit in the background doing all kinds of stuff that I cannot do at Marvel. Let's write that same book and figure out what Professor X would really be up to.
Okay, Mike, so now that I'm finally remembering how this show goes, the one we recorded like 3 of in the last month, so you'd think it would be memory by now, but is not. Clearly nothing else, Mike. Clearly now we go straight to the show. We start recapping.
That's where you are wrong, because I have prepared the name redacted memorial quiz for you guys.
Now, is it redacted because it's not the Babylon 5 person, or is that a reference to the Power Fantasy, or both?
I'll reveal what the name of the quiz later on in the series, but since we picked Talia, who was out at the beginning, I'm going to name each quiz for each subject we have after somebody who was gone soon. So it might be redacted at first, as in this case.
Ooh, this is, I think I know who it is. I'll text you later and see if I'm right.
I'm going to ask 5 questions about the Power Fantasy Volume 1, and you can buzz in with your first name when you're ready. If no one buzzes in right away, I will give multiple choice answers. She's got the book in front of her. She's ready to cheat on this. A woman after my own heart. All right. Category 1. New writer who dis? What X-Men book did Kieron Gillen write that directly led him to creating the Power Fantasy? I didn't think you would know this, so we're going right to the multiple choice, unless Carin...
Can I point out that is not a Power Fantasy quiz question? That is an X-Men quiz question.
Yeah, it's a question related to. That's why I'm going right to the multiple choice. If you would have read anything about the history of the Power Fantasy...
You didn't tell me how to read about the history. You told me to read Power Fantasy.
The quiz speaks for itself. All right. Is the book Uncanny X-Men? X-Men.
Dre, it's Astonishing X-Men.
Incorrect.
What?
All right, Carin, here's your steal.
Oh, no.
Is it Uncanny X-Men, X-Men, Immortal X-Men, or Ecstatic?
What?
I don't think it's ecstatic.
You failed me, brain.
I'm not cheating at all. The downside to having...
Yeah, it's not in the actual text you have in front of you. I'm going to need a guess if your internet skills are too slow for the answer.
2025 is when Power Fantasy came out.
It would be sometime before then.
Which is like everything.
He said directly led. I think it's going to have to be a little, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Immortal X-Men.
You are correct, Carin.
All it took
us
was 10 minutes, the internet, and both contestants working together to get the same amount of points we would have gotten.
All right. Moving on. Category 2. Dog eat dog. What stops Valentina from killing Etienne in issue number 1?
Oh, that's Carin, me.
Yes, Carin.
He shared he mind melded with her.
Yes, he shared his mind meld. I'm glad I didn't get to read the multiple choice, because there's things like they both love kittens, and he reveals they're both siblings.
No, I'm pretty sure they both love kittens too, but I don't. That wasn't what happened.
You are correct. He reveals his mind to her. All right, 3rd category. Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? What is the name of Heavy's floating fortress?
It's worth 1 point. Also, Haven.
Yes, you are correct.
And I may be establishing that you can buzz in early to make a sarcastic answer and then steal the correct answer. I'm liking these rules.
This is the only episode so far where you're really earning points, too. We have a whole home to-do system where you can earn points in the family. And since Carin's in the family and in the quiz, all points made today in the quiz will be transferred to our, the Skynet thing we have?
Speaking of Haven, I want no part of any family if that's the case. Inside joke before we even go. All right.
This is an easy one. Are you ready? Who can buzz in first? This is called Superpowers Assemble. Can you name all 6 of the superpowers?
Carin, no, I can't.
Oh, correct. All right. Wow.
To be fair, we stole that.
I can't deny a correct answer,
Brown
Dre.
did that too, but yeah. It's what? Etienne, Heavy, Magus. I'm sticking with that. It's what you said. It's a deconstructor, right? Is the kaiju's name, but it would be Masumi, right. Eliza, Valentina. Did I get them all?
You got it. That's all 6. All right. Everybody gets 2 points for that.
Actually, Dre didn't buzz in and say his name.
Oh. From your suggestion, Carin, I both suggested it and listened to you watching too much Game Changers. Not to just respect the hell out of that. Mike, I'm not the score master, but as the sidekick that tries to do it, even though I'm participating,
I'm taking it down. Kieron gets 2 points. You get 1 point.
I think that's worth a bonus point. I think that should go 4-1 if you're doing it that way.
No, I'm not giving it too much either. We're not getting too much dip on our chip with this one. 2 points for Carin, 1 point for Dre. Moving on, last
Mike's
category.
Wrong. Mike's wrong. Oh, he's wrong. Anyway,
Cult of personality. What is the
Dre,
highest?
the pyramid. Oh, dang it. I got greedy.
That is incorrect. So, Carin, this is all to you. What is the highest rank a member of the pyramid can achieve, excluding Jackie Magus?
Oh.
Excluding. Oh, okay. So not okay. So wouldn't it be?
If you're just a regular member of the cult, what's the highest?
Yeah.
Do you want the multiple choices?
No, I don't want multiple choices. It's the level above assholes. Is it fucking assholes?
It is fucking arsehole.
Arsehole. Well, I'm not British. I'll call up Tim and have him say it.
Yeah, so I think that's 3. If I add up the 2 of that, that's 20 points for Carin and 4 points for Dre. So we'll put you on the board.
1 point per star?
Oh, yeah, 1 point per star. So, yeah, give Dre 4 points?
Yep.
I can't give Dre any. He's not on our calendar.
And keep me out of the family. Nope.
I'm going to put a post-it note beside the thing so you can get analog points. All right, that finishes up the quiz. So, Dre, are you ready to get into the power fantasy?
Oh, let's do it. And Mike, you got the notes up. I'm happy if you want to drive. I'm happy to drive too. I'm happy if we need to mind meld and just kind of both talk, like blah, 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 whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I think I'll start and we'll keep mind melding as we go. So we're starting out at the beginning of issue 1. 6 individuals possess the destructive force of a nuclear arsenal. The world's survival depends on them never coming into conflict.
Can I immediately counter and say it was so much more fun to not do much of the context and just hop straight into the book is gorgeous and it's 2 people eating pizza, and I text you about this, Mike. It's 2 nerds having a superhero debate, and like midway through, you're like, oh, these are the superheroes.
We have our 2 leads are having a discussion outside of some graffiti on New York. And I like that in the background is one of the early designs they had for Val is the graffiti. And the actual picture that's of Valentine on the wall is an earlier design that they were going to use for her.
On the note of the graffiti, one of the things I liked was that the graffiti started out, we love Val, peace, love, happiness. And then at the end, when they started talking about the Atomic family, it was like freaks and X's over things and like crossed out. So it was very much like, okay, she's obviously not the only superpower. Etienne is in there too, and the Atomic family is there, but like she's the one that everybody likes, and everybody else is like, nope, we are not on board with this.
Yeah, and it was a fascinating take because its first episode is just Etienne and Valentina kind of talking back and forth, and we get this great reveal in the middle because they're kind of it's weird because they're people just kind of having a philosophical discussion.
What are they talking about, Dre? What's the first thing?
Etienne's like, you should let me take over the world. It's the ethical thing to do. And she turns into like this beam of light, an angel, basically, which, we'll talk more about that as we get to it. And she's like, I can't let you do that. And then then they basically do kind of come down to say, we're superpowers and we can't fight each other. That would be bad for the world. And he does, as was said in the quiz, reveal his mind and then also say, hey, I have fail-safe. So like, I think that's an important thing to realize and we were having a lot of pre-discussion. I think it'll have to wait till the next episode, Mike, because it's spoilers, right? But like about these superpowers, and it's not as simple. Once you hit that Omega level, killing them is a problem. Mm-hmm. So like an obvious thing about like Xavier is, what if when Xavier died, there was a risk his mind would blink out? And X-Men 2, the movie, he just takes out he just erases everybody's brain, right? That's a possibility.
Yeah.
He's even saying, hey, I've got safeguards in place. If I go down, a continent goes with me. So and they're saying we can't fight. And then he's also saying, when we're talking like Cold War, he's like, Etienne is saying, more of us are coming, right? We're getting more superpowers on the board. What are we going to do? And again, that's very apt for the 60s because you got Russia and the US, but then it's like the rest of the world's also starting to catch up too.
This is the whole series starting here is an escalating series of trolley problems that Etienne is dealing with. Because even in this, like the failsafe. So why does he have the failsafe? Well, he knows he has mental strength, but he is very weak physically. So the only thing he has is to threaten other superpowers of what would happen if they act, immediately setting up kind of the entire theme. Don't act. If any of us does anything to upset this balance, the world will die.
Even like because Heavy does act, right? Like he pulls his haven across Manhattan, and then like stuff happens, and Etienne steps in and says, listen, you can do what you want to do, but it's not going to be good. And this X, Y, and Z is going to happen. You've already seen that this has happened. I told you not to do it. You did it anyways. I'm going to mitigate it, basically. Like, instead of you destroying Texas, let's just take out the top 100 people who are involved in this.
Talk about that, what he's actually doing. Heavy is one of the superpowers. He has gravity powers, and he creates gravity singularities is what he can do, is his main power. And he does this to a fallen asteroid to create kind of a hippie left-wing cult community above a floating asteroid that's like equivalent of Asteroid M that Magneto had in the X-Men books. So he's inviting, like, this is a safe haven for atomics is what they're called in here. And he comes in for a show of force and is just going to have this asteroid over New York.
Well, I was going to say what I do love about this, right? So we start in the 60s with two supers setting things up. Supers got to be nice to each other. We kind of slowly over time see both of their powers, right? Because one of them's a psychic, Etienne. Valentina reveals herself to be like a powerful angel. And then we jump into the future, 1999, right? So I think that's the furthest we go in the books. And that's going to be a lot of this, which is really awesome. We are going to jump through time through all of these books, which is really freaking awesome. And
I really like that choice of 66 versus 99 as the two inverse numbers of each other to keep flipping to the main action.
Surprised that didn't make the nerd numbers. Maybe I got to hope next show. So yeah, we start finding out about our other supers, right? You were saying Heavy, and Heavy, yeah, it's appropriately named in cool power. Sebastian Shaw from the Hellfire Club, but to the max. So like Shaw can like absorb kinetic energy. This person has such an absurd control of gravity.
Oh, it's Magneto level. That's why I keep saying Magneto, because you make these gravity singularities that are so powerful, like nothing can escape. He can provide power for everything. He can regenerate himself, which is what we get into right away, because as we were just coming out with the plot, the U.S. government takes a strike. It's like a targeted, like laser strike right through Heavy. I mean, that's like what comics you read it for, to like open up the next panel and it's like a huge thing of Heavy just going through his body and getting severed in two.
Obviously never saw the Avengers Endgame, because you're supposed to go for the head, not the heart.
Yeah.
You should have gone for the head, boy. The first issue is kind of split into two parts, where the first part is almost entirely the two characters, Val and Etienne, having their philosophical discussion about why they can't ever come to blows with the other superheroes, or like what'll happen, or taking over the world. And then the second half is immediately fast forward in 1999, where here's what could happen.
Our Magneto-like characters come across with Haven. Etienne, using psychic powers, is saying, Magneto, don't do this. He's saying, what's the worst they can do? He's giving an interview for the first time in forever to basically, I love this, Mike, basically to Jubilee.
Jubilee, yeah.
Yes. So
she makes sparkle fingers.
Tanya can like have sparkles come out of her fingers, which is awesome. So she's a reporter.
Tanya is one of my favorite characters in this entire series. She is great.
So much to talk there. So he's giving an interview to Tanya. We also get a nice implication of his powers, because like he's giving an interview to her. He's talking to Heavy as Heavy is bringing this big asteroid over Texas. The government is basically deciding to fire on him. He's saying, don't do this. We get that amazing panel with Heavy split into two. Oh my God, did World War III just start? And then, Carin, I think you already kind of mentioned like the escalation. This was one of my favorite bits of back and forth between Heavy and Etienne.
But even before he even talks to Heavy, this is what's really important. There's only 2 or 3 pages where Etienne knows what he has to do. He's in the interview. He talks to all 4 of the other superpowers that he has to consult with before talking to Heavy. Like, he goes to each one of them and puts all of his chess pieces in a row so he knows if anything happens. Like with Val, he has to convince her not to intervene unless he fails, as more people would die if she went up against Heavy than if he does. Eliza, he needs her to prevent Magnus from interfering because he's a hothead too and will probably come Dogman first. He then goes and talks to Masumi just to check in on her to make sure she's not going to Hulk out during this whole thing. And then he talks to Magus to convince him to take the second shot, but to let Val get her shot first. Only after he puts all of these pieces in a row does then he go on and start talking to Heavy.
Yeah.
And he is, I really, as I mentioned, really resonated a lot too, because he's Charles Xavier, and I texted this to you, Mike. I said, fun thought experiment. Would Charles Xavier be a dick if he wasn't a dick? That's like what this presupposes. Mm-hmm. His only real weakness in this book is his ethics, right? He has a set of moral rules to live by that he has, that I think he even understands. I need these to keep me in place. And that makes it very fascinating when he's interacting with the other heavies, other superheroes. I'm going to say superheroes because heavy is confusing.
They're all heavies, even heavy.
Yeah. When he's talking to all the other superpowers, he basically says, I am going to tell you the rules. I'm not going to be duplicitous. I'm going to lay everything on the table, because if we start trying to play this as a game where we're trying to win, we're all going to fail. So the best thing is to just like lay everything out and set a rule. And I really love that as like a game person. Mm-hmm. Introducing a convoluted rule helps him more because he knows he'll be able to adhere to it. So it's a funny thing. Is he being ethical, or is he just setting it so that the rules stay in his favor? And through all of these books, I go 50-50. In the first half of this book, he keeps saying ethics. Throughout all of it, he says ethics. This big explosion just went off, and he goes to Heavy.
What's the first line of the book? The only ethical thing to do is to take over the world. Yeah. Of course. So the whole thing is leading up to. One of the things Kieron Gillen does the best is he has the ending before he has the start. He said for this book, he had the first panel and the last panel and built the entire story from getting one to the other. For now, we're still on heavies. And in this part, when he actually talks to Heavy, is when ETN has the trolley problem of all trolley problems you have to solve, because Heavy is about to take his revenge on all of Texas. I mean, have you ever had that thought where Texas is such a bad state, or like there's so many bad guys in there, if we just killed them all, our problems would be solved? And Heavy's just trying to do that, not thinking of all of the atomics, all of his family that's there.
It's like poker. He's like, all right, I'm going to take out the president. What else do you want? Basically, he's like, what do you want? He nails down and helps Heavy figure out exactly what Heavy's goals are and makes it very specific. So it's like, yes, you want to take out Texas, but why? Why are you taking out Texas? You're taking out Texas to get to the president. Okay, well, I'll take out the president. And then he's like, okay, what else do you want? Like, what do you need to be happy? And then he pulls the plug at a certain point, and he's like, no, because Heavy says, well, I want the families of all the people who are involved as well. And Etienne says, no, if that happens, then your family's going as well.
Yeah, he says, like, if you make me do that, I will, but I will kill everybody on Haven, even though they're technically his atomic or mutant family too. Yep.
Like, Heavy's reasoning was something along the lines of, like, we all come from somebody, and so these people who lived with the people who did the bad thing are probably bad people too. And Etienne was like, comes back and is like, okay, but that would be like me killing all of your family, and obviously you don't want that, so let's draw the line somewhere. Because obviously Heavy probably wouldn't. He would have kept going, like, well, what about the family friends? The close family friends also, they should go too. And, oh, what about these people? And it's like, no, you got to draw a line somewhere, and you need to realize that you're being ridiculous.
Yeah. It had to resonate with all of us as parents, right? When you're talking down and like slowly whittling away, and it played out. And we got a really good sense of the characters. And what I liked, and this has paid off really quickly with Heavy, which we'll talk, I think, the next issue of this is, right, that he's being very flamboyant with Haven and being warned, and we're, hey, what's going on? And we get a real sense of all the characters in this first book, even though we haven't really talked to Magus, Masumi, or Eliza. We're introduced. That was very nice too, right? It's like, hey, we got 6 characters. We're not going to get to all of them, but you'll at least know that they're there, and you'll at least know where they sit in the pecking order, because by him having to talk to them, we know where they are, right?
He talks a lot. Like, Kieron Gillen talks a lot about 6. That's the amount of characters you want to have if you want to have like a big team, have like people going off for a time, if you want to follow many plot lines, but not have too many characters that it gets out of control. He's always said, like, pick 6. That's what you want for a team book.
Yeah, so that's really good. And at the end, we end with basically the United States tried to take out a superhero. another superhero that said not to do what the first one did, killed like a big chunk of the U.S.
Hundreds
government
of people in a surgical
research.
strike.
And yeah, like research people. Basically, it would be like if after the atomic bomb, everybody involved in the research, the president, everybody else was taken out. And then, we do get the last panel that goes to the initial thing. We flash back to the 60s. We already know Etienne wasn't allowed to take over, but we end the last bit of the moral dilemma. And you have the quote, Mike.
I got the quote. It's, "Sweetie, in the last 10 minutes, you threatened the death of millions. In what universe are you a good person?" And Etienne's response is, "Really? This one." It's a perfect ending to a perfect first issue.
I am super excited about the next one for what's going to... We'll debate if it's tangent number 3, Mike. So what happens... Where do we go from here? We had ethical debates, we had explosions, and you read this live. You said this in the notes. You were reading this issue to issue as it was coming out.
Oh, yeah. That's the best way to do it, because then you have like a month to like, what's going on? Every single one of these issues ends in some kind of a cliffhanger. But in this one, we start with Etienne confessing on live TV that, hey, he's the one who did it. He takes over a broadcast in New York and just says like, "This is why I did it. I did it to prevent all of Texas from being destroyed, but I understand that I'm going to be wanted man from here on out, so you won't hear much from me." And then he goes and helps Tanya get out of jail, because Tanya was the person, the other atomic who was interviewing with Sparkle Fingers earlier, and the local police took her in for questioning and investigation. So he goes and frees her from her being interrogated, and this is this neat scene because the good cop, bad cop people are like trying to tell her what's going on, and they're saying like, yeah, none of your superpower friends could help us. We're working with Magus now, one of the superpowers, and he gave us these play cards that can stop Etienne from coming in here. And right then, Etienne comes in and just says, "Oh, let's see where the safeguard is. Right here." Boop. Yeah, that's the button I use to tell Magus that I'm somewhere using his fake cards.
What I'll say, Mike, about this that was very clever is we have our Iron Man character, Magus, who's got a helmet that we assume keeps Etienne out, the psychic, much like Magneto's helmet. And we're already seeing immediately, though, that he says, hey, this technology is here. This technology doesn't...
It's a placebo.
Well, not quite. This technology doesn't stop me. Like, this technology is useful in the sense that, like, Magus knows where I am, but it can't stop me. And I feel when we're kind of talking like Cold War politics and stuff, that is a very interesting thing with a lot of these superheroes, where we realize just how much of the agreement is just like them tacitly agreeing. It's like, It's not like, hey, I can stop you. It's like, we have agreed and we're being nice with each other. If one of us chose to break the rules, there might not be any stopping.
Etienne's way of saying, I'm still playing the game. Like, we're not letting up what our whole thing is behind the scenes. We're tight with each other.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's most of this issue. I mean, I'm almost done with the plot of it, because Etienne takes Tanya up to Haven for protection, even though him and Heavy aren't really even on speaking terms anymore after what just happened last issue with killing all the people. But he still knows that's the best place for Tanya to go. So he lets Tanya go and hang out with Heavy, while she's wanted for being with him. And then the final moment of the issue.
Wait, you had said a thing before that I did love, because he's talking to a reporter. Tanya's a reporter, and they did have that very good philosophical debate of him saying, this is a red state full of angry people who hate us, right? So we're keeping with the civil rights mutant angle that the X-Men started, which I absolutely loved. And she's like, dude, atomics live there, gay people live there, black people live there. She's like, you blow up Texas, it's not. And I mean, that's, by the way, one of my nerdy things. Like, if you look at elections, like, Texas is one of the top 3 states for voting Democrat, and California is one of the top 3 states for voting Republican. And we just have a really inane system that paints one as blue and one as red, but they're both. And so that clever little line makes it in the middle as we're talking geopolitics. And then, he is so good at final scenes and all of
Title reveal. This one, you get Magus talking about her to plane about what's going on, and he just says, the second anything unbalances the system, we're all going to burn. Turn the page, and reveals that Heavy has a son who is an extremely powerful, potentially superpower atomic.
And yeah, Carin, this one I think was one of the more condensed ones, but any other actuallys on issue 2?
No, I'm looking through it again right now. They have a bit with Masumi where she's talking to Etienne as he's coming to her art opening, and I love how colorful she is. Like, the art for her, she's one of my favorite characters just from a looks perspective. It's all like pinks and blues and pastel stuff, and then whenever you start, like, you can tell when she's talking about her other half, basically, because it gets really, there's one panel where it's like half dark and half light, and it's just like, oh, that's so pretty. So I really like her, and I was sad that there wasn't more of her. And I don't hate, but I don't like Magnus. Magus? I don't like him.
Let me know what you think of his character after you read the rest of it. So I know you've only read the first volume, but these characters are pretty dynamic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
And by the way, when we're sticking Babylon 5 connections and Gillen being just like good about this, I forget about stuff like, because the art show, which is going to be 2 issues up, is a huge thing. And you're reminding me that, that was played very much like a lot of these plot lines that have happened. Like, it's weird because like something in the 60s that'll show up in the 60s in 2 issues is still teased. And that is just, us, Mike, we spent a year talking about how much we love writing like that, but the planned payoffs.
Yeah, the biggest thing I skipped over with the whole Tokyo thing is that everyone, especially Etienne, is preparing to go to the Tokyo art show that Masumi is going to let on. And in his psychic conversation with her, he reveals that he has been controlling his own emotions just to keep himself sane after killing so many people. Like, he doesn't let himself psychically feel things. And that he also reminds her that, like, her mind is closed, so he can't help her the same way to turn off her powers. We'll move right into the third one, which is mostly Valentina's story. They give you a lot of like world building on how everything started and how atomics came into this world.
Mike, this issue, when you're talking Valentina's story, what is amazing? Like, this character is great. We get almost like a good Homelander because right after the atomic bomb, something changes. That's what we're told in this book, and we'll probably learn more. Basically, an angel baby is born. There's this talking baby that we see is born, and she has a superpower, and we kind of get a little bit of her backstory, which is like, they're like, hey, let's see what this powerful baby can do. That you see a super powerful baby, of course, the first thing you do is think war. She says, I don't like you, and flies off. And then we get a little bit where we see she's known Etienne.
We see her first meeting with Etienne, in which she reveals that that's where she says, like, hey, she can see him using his power. So that's the point. Like, they got to be like, he looks like he's about 6 to 8 years old, and she's 10 to 12 years old, and already like they know each other, and they're starting to balance what each other can do. So it takes us to what is called the first summer of love in this book. Valentina she has a whole hippie vibe to her, and she starts listening to a lot of music from the early 60s that Etienne has given to her, and she decides that there needs to be a future for more of this wonderful music to exist in. And she looks on the news and sees that the Cuban Missile Crisis is coming up. So she reaches out and decides that to save humanity, she has to take out missile silos in Turkey and that are near Cuba to stop the missile crisis. So that's great. A few years later, she's having kind of a peace and love festival in New Mexico called the First Summer of Love, and the U.S. in retaliation nukes her and the entire peace festival.
And I didn't realize this in the notes, Mike, because you put the follow-up. I didn't realize that when she goes to scold them about it, she just doesn't realize that she's still covered in radiation.
That's in it. That's later on. She says, the only thing I regret about that is not thinking. I didn't think through. I came in and those people all melted.
Because, she goes to the president to say, what the heck were you doing? I thought she was actually mad enough to be like, you're dead.
That's what I thought
that just happened. But you're right. She's just radioactive. And she even says, hey, I was fine later, but, the entire world was scared of me.
She's talking to Etienne a little bit after that, where Etienne is going to Tokyo, and he is actually using Val to help protect him because he knows he's extremely vulnerable just taking a regular commercial airliner. He's hoping that they won't fire a nuke because they'll have to take out all the citizens too, but he doesn't know. So Val's kind of helping him in case that happens. And while they're flying over Europe, you get the first big reveal about what happened in the second Summer of Love. this is when they look down, and like one of the last big reveals at the end is that all of Europe is gone.
Yeah.
Something happened in their past that went wrong, and they don't have Europe anymore.
Okay, now, Carin, you already said this has to be your favorite issue so far, right? Because we do get a Masumi full issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's my favorite. On the other hand, there's a point in the middle, which 100% I understand why it happened, but I was like, no, I want more.
Well, we'll get to that because the issue starts out number 4 with, it shows 1982 and Tokyo is being attacked by a giant kaiju called Deconstructa.
I was going to say, I love the very first panel because 100% the first time I read this book, I skipped it because it's all black. And it just has little... And the writing is purple, which makes me think it's Etienne talking to something, but it's just in this darkness. And I 100%, because the pages between comic books, as Jay pointed out, are all black. So I just was like, oh, it's just another page. I skipped it the first time. And in hindsight, it is Etienne talking to the kaiju monster.
Yep. Who is Masumi, as we find out pretty quick. It's her alter ego that if she gets too depressed, she becomes a monster. But in this case now, it's Masumi's art show she's having. And the past couple issues, Etienne has been making arrangements to go to Tokyo to see the art show. In fact, all of the superpowers want to be there just to make sure something doesn't go wrong, and she lets out the kaiju.
Oh, and it's great because, this first thing, she's like, her girlfriend's there telling her, hey, Magus canceled on your art show. She's like thinking of waves and almost like slipping out of reality. And her girlfriend freaks out really quick. Hey, don't go. And it's like, hey, what's going on? And I remember this. This was very interesting because when I was reading the first time, it's like, these are all supers. And I was like, so what's her deal? Why is she so important? And this is really starting to get it in where we see the 1982 Tokyo giant monster immediately hop towards to 1999. And then we're just basically like, hey, what's going on? And then this is the art show that's been teased for episodes.
Well, they're at the art show, and several of the superpowers are there. We can go backwards to go what happens to Etienne on the journey over there.
I love it. So, we'll start at the art show and then how everybody gets here. Love it.
But we're already talking about that. And what I love, this reminds me so much of the scenes in the Avengers on the Hellcarrier, the first time they all get together around Loki's scepter, and there's like... they're looking at Bruce Banner when he's getting angry, and all of a sudden he's Bruce, you realizing you're holding the scepter. It's like that feeling was perfect in this, where it's like they don't want to go over this delicate balance and push Masumi over the edge, but she's an artist and she wants real art critics to like what she does. But she's just kind of a pretender outsider artist at it. It's like the few times when people can say what they really feel about it, they're like, it's not that great. But everybody has to love her art, otherwise kaiju comes out and destroys the world.
What we do get is, basically, what if the Hulk were a struggling artist, but everybody didn't want to upset the Hulk, so they all say your art is great, but then he knows you're lying, so he gets upset, and so then you don't want him upset at that, and we do get this really tense standoff where she got a good review. Her girlfriend's like, good job. You got a great review. It's Isabella, right? I think is her girlfriend's name.
Isabella.
Yeah.
So Isabella was like, she got a great review. And she's like, I couldn't have gotten a great review. That couldn't have been released in time. This is before the internet, by the way, right? Or at least before major internet. It's 1999. And there might not be an internet in this universe where like Eurasia got destroyed. Maybe there are no big wires underneath the sea. That is definitely a thing. So she's upset at this critic and is like, you lied to me. I'm an artist. What are you doing? Right? Like, I want feedback. Huge shout out to Jeff May, grandfather of this show. Just had an episode with Andrea Gazzetta.
Papa Jeff.
Yep. But talked about that, about like, he actually on the most recent episode of the Monthly Flow talked about giving criticism and how it's not fun. And people are like, I want criticism. You're like, you think you do? And then I'm going to be critical and you're going to feel hurt. But the take I have here, the take I always hate is this like almost fountainheady, I'm looking at this person, they want to be an artist, and they just don't have it. And I hate that. And I fundamentally disagree. I think you do not know what it takes for someone to have their breakthrough, to become great. There are so many people that have spent so much time at something, and they're like, what is this? And you realize it was a 20, 30-year journey. So I don't like the take of like, because the critic finally gives a quote real take. We're going to talk a lot about that too. And is like, hey, you're not there yet, but you show promise and I can see stuff. And Masumi calms down. I was like, oh, you like it. And then later she's like, I was lying. She's a crappy artist. Or we discovered that the critic doesn't think.
That's exactly what we're talking about right now, because she gives criticism that placates Masumi enough by saying exactly what you're saying. You're like, yes, you're coming from an outside place, but it's coming from a place with heart. And we can all see how much you're trying is kind of what it boils down to. Like,
but then later what we're kind of told is that she's lying. And what I'm going to say is like, people are creating stuff. Let them create. You don't know. And unless it's being destructive, and in this case, it's the exact opposites, right? If someone is trying to be an artist and they can't sustain themselves, you might have that come to Jesus moment and be like, hey, you're damaging your life. But if someone is trying something, you're like, you're not very good. It's like, if you're digging it and you want to keep going, because I do hate the almost pretentious art critic of like, they clearly don't have it. It's like, you don't know. They might have it. Let them keep going. And I still think even the worst piece of art, even like, it's funny because I like the art. We've had this problem, Mike, on the show where I feel like I like certain music. You're like, Dre, as a professional musician, it's kind of derivative. And I'm like,
but it's all subjective. Whatever I say isn't any more, doesn't hold weight more than you from my experiences, maybe from my experiences of actually like performing music. But I enjoy music the same way you do or anybody else does.
Yeah, so I mean that was just my take here is when it's kind of revealed that like the critic doesn't think she's at it. I'm like, you don't know, and I'm like, there's still something there. Let people enjoy it for the most part. So that was the art show. And Karen, I'll let you jump in if you've got anything on the art.
I was going to say I got a couple things before the critics' critiquing comes out. The superpowers are all there to keep her in line, right? To like make sure that she doesn't blow up, and they end up getting into their stuff. And then she kind of starts blowing up and they're like, oh, right. Sorry. No, we're here for you. I will ignore this. And it's like, there was a good argument happening there. Like there was good points being made and I wanted that to go on a little bit more, but also I didn't want the world to explode. So that was one thing. And then this is what Dre was referencing. So it comes out at the end. Isabella calls on Etienne and asks basically like she's kind of fallen out of love. What? It's stressful, right? You're the girlfriend of your girlfriend is basically a nuclear weapon that you have to tiptoe around all the time, right? Like that is not that is a toxic relationship she's in, so it makes sense. But she calls out to Etienne and asks him to help her, and it's revealed that the critic didn't actually like he gave her the critique.
It was Etienne that was controlling the critic.
It wasn't actually the critic that was giving it, and he says. Masumi knows the papers lie, but having Olivia Brown, that's the critic, say lesser praise will be accepted by Masumi's narcissism. And her girlfriend says, that's horrible. And he says it is. But better her middling art is hailed as exceptional than we all die. Truth is beauty, and as we cannot risk her having truth, true beauty will elude her. So, like, part of the reason why she is the artist she is because people can't be truthful with her, and she can't learn and become better, which I thought was, like...
That's tragic, actually, phrasing it that way.
So sad. It's tragic, but it's like its critiques are hard, but you learn from the critique as much as it's personal, because it's always personal and it's hard, and you have to take that step back and learn from it, or else you're never going to get better.
Yep.
And the problem for her is that she can't take that moment when the critique happens. Because if she experiences that, the world ends, basically. It's just so tragic that she could be a good artist. But she probably won't be because nobody can be honest with her.
Truth isn't there.
I like that second half where like, I'm given the thing. And then also, if we're okay staying there for a second longer, Mike, it's also revealed, I think you said this before, that Etienne is controlling the girlfriend as well.
Erasing her memories.
He's not controlling her,
and she asks him to. Like,
it's the literalization of what you were just talking about, because he tells her that, all right, I can make it easier the same way that he makes it easy on himself to be able to like kill the president and millions of people's families for heavy, is like he can do the same thing for Isabella and make her kind of forget how difficult it is to be with Masumi. And the real neat thing is, right as he's leaving, she's like, wait, how many times have you done this before? And you're realizing, like, he's probably done this a lot before.
Yeah, definitely an eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. And I'm going to give high praise here in two ways. I loved the can of worms this rightfully opened up, like about Charles Xavier. Imagine living in this universe and you can't be sure that anybody, right, anybody in this universe, how much their motives are acting. And Etienne is in some ways worse than Charles Xavier, who will like mind control. So he'll mind control Sabretooth to like talk to Magneto, if we're going by the X-Men movie lore, right? He will subtly nudge, and that is the rule he's made for himself, right? Like, I can't make someone do something they don't want to do, but I can nudge them enough or do the bare minimum, right? I can make the critic fully lie, but that's unethical. Very cheaty in the good place. But I can make her lie just enough where it's still not ethical, but it's more ethical than having her fully lie. So this entire universe, anybody's actions, anytime someone is nice to you, someone is mean to you, someone does anything, you have to question if Etienne is pulling the strings. And that got opened up in this issue. And it's not hard to say that's going to get expanded upon. And Mike, actually, this seems like a good spot for it because we also get to see, that's the philosophical of it. We actually get to see like some action Etienne earlier in the book too.
Yep, I alluded to that. So like on his way to Tokyo, Etienne lands in Tokyo, and there's one of the American government's kind of shock troops who is there waiting for him to take him out. And it's kind of another nice little character insight into Etienne about how many different machinations he has and how many safeguards he has. This guy is about to kill Etienne and like shoot him down when he talks to the guy and says, hey, since I know who you are, I knew who you were when you started going into this program to be this like bionic soldier, and everybody in that program, I put a trigger in their families. So if you kill me, the minute you kill me, your family is going to tear their own veins out of their wrists with their teeth. And he immediately has to tell the guy, is that worth killing me right now?
And actually, it's not when he gets killed, it's when he gets cut off. So when the family gets put in a safe room so that Etienne can't harm them, it's already too late. Like, as soon as, like, he basically did it to his own family, too. Like, by putting them in the safe room, he started the trigger. So it's like, it's not only like, do you want to do this, but do you want to spend your time right now taking me out, or do you want to turn around and go save your family?
Yep. Yeah, it just shows like how much Etienne has thought about everything, not just now in this moment, but he has safeguards like for his safeguards that have been in place for decades, like, or at least how long this guy has gone through a training program for the past few years.
And like I said, I love this because when you read the X-Men, and X-Men is kind of like a football that's passed around, and is it Krakoa, the storyline? You brought that up on previous episodes,
yeah,
Mike.
That's Jonathan Hickman, Hoxpox. Read Hoxpox.
I love more suggestions, but what I'll say is, you even said about that in theory, that was a very consolidated story that expanded because Marvel likes money, and that's how capitalism works. And so when we have, Charles Xavier is this master thinker, well, he really can't be because you have to pass him along, and he has to be able to go into this timeline, and Thanos has to be able to do something. And how is Thanos doing something if Xavier is really that powerful? But stories, right? Whereas in this one, we have a Xavier character, and you're like, if you start thinking about him, you're like, wow, he'd be really powerful, right? And because this is a contained story and a thought out story with an ending, as we're going through it, we're like, oh yeah. And that only gets better. It's so good.
Yep. Yeah, immediately this is where I started to really see all the dichotomies, because there's dichotomies between all the different character pairs you could imagine. And this is the first one I really thought of, like on my second reading through, is because of Masumi, all the narcissism and ego that they have to placate. She becomes a foil for Eliza, who later on has ego as a big character flaw. There's Magus and Heavy, who are left versus right-wing cults, and Etienne and Val for ethics versus morals.
We kind of went over this, and I feel like it kind of pulls back in. At one point in time, Magus has a secret meeting with Valentina and Eliza where they talk about Etienne and how Etienne is changing and growing stronger. And one of the things that struck me, and I've only read this volume, right? This is Magus. He says there can't be two smartest guys in the room. And based on these books, I don't feel like there's two smartest guys in the room. I feel like Etienne is heads and tails over Magus. He's always 50 steps ahead of everybody. And I don't know if Magus knows that or not, and I don't know if it changes coming up, but that was one of the things he's like, there can't be two smartest guys in the room, and I was like, but there's not. Power-wise, you might be on the same level, but like, the way Etienne is playing chess, he's way over you, is how I feel in this book.
Magus just knows things. That's his power.
That really seems to be his power. I love the line he
Spoilers.
says, I think, he's talking to Valentina, he says, I think you're good, you're moral, he's ethical. That doesn't mean you're on the same side. Moral and ethical are not the same thing.
Yeah.
What Etienne shows the Valentine like who he is, and I kind of was like, but I want to know who you are. Like, it's just one panel with his like little mental thing being shot at her, and I'm just like, but I
promise you, Carin, all will be revealed. Kieron Gillen is very good at not leaving threads unbound. Back on track,
We're
podcast
almost there,
people.
Mike.
We're almost
I know
there.
we're so close. All right, we're on to issue 5, and this is the one where you find out about the pyramid scheme. Magus's cult is literally called the Pyramid. So in this one, we start out. This is Magus. I forget, Carin, what was the year that this starts in? Is this all the way back in 69 again? Or 66?
It actually doesn't.
Yeah.
1978.
78. So this is after Magus has started his pyramid cult, and we get a nice infographic almost right up front that's in the shape of a pyramid, and it's all how Jackie Magus, with whatever his superpower is, he has set up a cult of arseholes with him at the top. And what are if someone else has the pyramid, can you read off what the other levels of the cult are?
It starts off with initiates. You can have as many initiates as you want to. And then after that, you have ascended initiates, which have to be 33% of the pyramid maximum. So, like, as people die, that's the only way you can get up in this pyramid, basically.
Or
After the
expand
Or
the
you get more
pyramid.
initiates up the.
That's true, up the percentage. Lower initiates of the greater third is 9% of the pyramid. Higher initiates of the greater third is 8% of the pyramid. And then there's arseholes, which is 56 max. That's not a percentage, that's 56. So at a certain level,
That's
people
a
do
hard
have
number.
to die. Fucking arseholes, and that's 22 max. And then just Jackie Magnus is the top. He's the total asshole. There's only one of them.
So throughout this, the first half of this issue is Magus explaining to the new initiates of, like, what are they? The new arseholes that are coming into the pyramid. He's rising them up and explaining how magic came into this universe. That when Valentina came into the world through the atomic bomb, it poked a hole into heaven, and that hole is what is letting all magics out, and a lot of magics is what's starting all the atomics, just like, Marvel Mutants. So basically explain the rules of magic in the universe, like they can do small things. Telekinesis is just moving over and not being too lazy to get out of your chair. So he's just kind of like making an anarchistic joke out of it, including the whole point that he's starting a pyramid cult that's based around a pyramid structure.
But yeah, we see him talking to people. We see him talking to this young woman who is just drawn very stylistically, like super white and super
this whole
angelic.
section, this background is like, it's very kind of a dirty, like a very distorted style of art that's not used anywhere else to kind of show that, hey, it's an anarchistic cult. We're trying to be anarchs. And yeah, there's the one girl who's there all the time who is just drawn in pure white, drawing your attention to her the whole time, even though she's not saying much, but Magus is talking like directly at her in several of these scenes.
He calls her out as Eliza.
Yep.
Third panel in. Yeah.
Cool.
So we do know who she. Well, that definitely makes it interesting because we have seen Eliza, who says like commands hell, and you're like, oh, okay.
Is this the same Eliza?
Same, and it is this. Yeah, you'd be able to recognize it's the same Eliza. And then so we get the cult, and we get two kind of major superhero events, and one of them. Again, this smacks so much like the art show, because it is a bunch of superheroes hanging out together, just chilling, just talking. And while they are talking, Magus, our cult leader, who we did see his face, he's got like a crazy face, but then we see him in the mask. So we realize that he's always masked up because he's got to protect himself from Etienne. So at some point he had to stop being crazy guy showing his face, had to cover his face so that he can't read his mind. And these superheroes are all talking. We meet the Major, who is like the nerdiest looking guy, like looks like a golf instructor. He has like a golf ball.
This is the wharf scene.
And yeah, okay, absolutely. And what we get is, this is so great because the superheroes are all talking to each other telepathically. And Magus is like, the Major's bluffing. Okay,
So
go ahead.
to set this up, the Major, what they say is he's the superpower working for the U.S. government on behalf of them and going around and starting wars around the world. And
He's Captain America.
Yeah.
Captain America, he was just a total jerk. Like the bad one, the bad Captain America.
Yeah, the bad Captain America.
But not even the good, bad. Of course, Supernatural Eccles, we got the best good, bad Captain America. This is the bad Captain America.
Yeah, he's just going around starting wars and telling the other. He knows that the superpowers are all in kind of a Cold War stalemate. So you can tell in the way he's saying he's using that to say, like, hey, I'm going to upset the balance or do something here unless you let the U.S. take over these other nations around the globe. And that's when we pick up where you were saying, like, all of them are the superpowers that we've known and grown to love are all talking to each other in their minds. Magus takes off his mask and says, Major, I know things. He's bluffing. He's not as powerful as he says. And that's when Heavy immediately...
Oh, and not even quite, because he basically says he's bluffing, and the other ones are like, are you sure? And we do get a lot of the interaction because Valentina is like, he's right. So it's like, Etienne can't tell, Magus says it, Valentina confirms it, and then we get a lot of character development because as soon as Heavy knows... Boom.
He's just impulsive. He collapses the Major of himself and kicks him like into a meatball. Just turns him into a meatball within a gravity well and kicks him into space. So this is completely the Worf effect. Like, the Major never shows up again. He's just in these panels. He's referred to like in passing a few times, but all it is to show like they need to show the power level. The whole story came about because Kieron Gillen knew that he couldn't have Apocalypse and Magneto and Professor X come to serious blows. But how do you write a comic book that shows where their power level's at? Well, you have a Worf come in, someone who he knows is really powerful, that they can just also kick his ass out of nowhere.
It took me a while to figure out that he got turned into a ball. Because he was playing with that golf ball for a while, and I was like trying to, like, they put them right next to each other so you could see like the side, but my brain just was not like. How often do you see somebody condensed into a ball in a gravity well? Not very often, right? So when it happens, your brain is like, it's like when you see a dead animal on the sidewalk and your brain is like doesn't connect right at first.
They put a little splotch of man meat on top of the golf ball in one scene, so you know, oh, that wasn't. Oh, what was that?
Yeah, no, and it took like my brain. I had to go back and forth a couple times, and I was like, wait, something happened, but I'm not 100%. Okay, cool, I got it.
This is another thing that Casper was saying about the art that he added. Like, that whole thing with the golf ball, he was just thinking, like, where did this guy come from? He's like, what, in the 80s? Like, he's probably one of these yuppie guys, like, messing with the high power guy. These guys are going to be golfing. Let's put him in golfing clothes, like he just came from golf. And then, like, oh, a golf ball is round. I'm already getting kind of comments of, like, how my circle's all over the place. Let's play into that with the golf ball versus Heavy, just basically turning him into a human meatball.
And then I did like, Magus was like, Jesus, killing someone and saying a one-liner, you're as American as he was. That just made me giggle.
We do get some of the second Summer of Love, right? The 1989 thing. But we just see the epilogue, you jerk, Kieran, because we do actually see Eliza talking to Magus at the end of it. Although now she's like a devil creature with angel horns. Mm-hmm. And she's like, are you crying? So to this guy who literally is like, I know things, he's making the naughty word cult and seems so happy-go-lucky, he's sitting in what looks like hell crying. And she comes up to him and is like, are you feeling sad? And he's even just saying, like, he admits he lost his entire cult. He said he had 250,000 people that were all in his cult that are gone. He makes a reference to being martyred and is like, what happened? And she's just like, he's like, why aren't you crying? She's like, I guess I have like the powers of hell. And he says, just, I'll say this to people, just read that panel a couple times, because he basically says, who even taught you how to do this? And reveals that some of the magic that was taught to her is about sacrificing yourself. This universe is wild because apparently you can sacrifice yourself and gain demonic powers. He has characters like this, right, where you're like evil because you've done that. Of course, I guess Ghost Rider would be the most apt, right? Like made a deal with the devil or Spawn. So she's like a Spawn-like character. This universe,
but we don't know any of that yet. Like this is another like tease that he has.
Well, I was going to say we do. I would argue back with you that we do hear Mike, because that was Eliza that we've seen. Carin, thank you for backing me, because you pointed out. Actually, Mike, I'm going to count that as an actually, that we do know they're the same person, right? Eliza was this white angelic looking figure for pages. Now there's a demon, and in it, Magus even says to her, like, geez, who taught you about sacrificing for this stuff? And then he says to himself, he's like, I guess someone must have told you and you learned and I taught them because of the pyramid scheme, so I guess it's my fault. And he's like, I guess I'm going to figure it out. So the reason I was kind of skimming over it is because this really comes into the story later on.
It
like really
you find out everything that's going on.
Yeah,
here.
we find it all. But I'm just, what I even love having read ahead and then reading here is like what was already there. Like this panel, what I will say is if you're like me, someone who reads fast wants to know what's going on, read this panel again, because it's an economy of language, incredibly dense, but it's all there where we hear a bunch of stuff. The pyramid cult is gone. Eliza sacrificed herself, is now apparently a demon that has all the power. And what are we going to do now? And then we flash forward to the future where Magus is looking at his numbers and go very much like you had a blog in the 90s and now it's 2020. The numbers are down. And he's like, what am I going to do? I got to get my numbers back up. And then we end with this book ends so great, Mike, how it ends.
Yeah, it ends with Magus saying, hey, I think I belong in the White House, as he's putting his feet up in the Oval Office on the desk. He's talking to the new president, and we don't know if he's saying, like, I should be president, but he's at least saying, like, I'm making moves now to become, like, use the U.S. government and to weasel my way in that for power. One thing that he does mention earlier when he's talking to his cult is that he's trying to do a very similar thing that ETN is. He's trying to maintain a balance by starting the cults. He knows that magic is out there and that people just find out, and it's like fire. They'll play with it and they get burned. The pyramid, as he's seeing it, is a place where people can safely learn magic, and he can channel that. So in his own way, he's doing very similar things to ETN, trying to like channel things into good by doing ethical things with what he can.
Yeah. And then, well, I mean, that is even, he says, fuck it, you tried saving the world, look where that got you. So he very much is like, okay, that didn't work and I couldn't rebuild from that. So I'm just going to go and like basically do a mass recruitment with the U.S. government and take over the army kind of a thing.
Yep. Yeah, because we know that building up followers in his pyramid, like that's how he gains his power in some way, but we don't know the specifics yet.
And what is damning in a funny way to look at the juxtapose is the two stories told in front of that are, one, he tried to be good, and we have enough context from the things. He helped save the world, but he lost everything, right? That's one story. The other story is a super overplayed their hand with the U.S. government. The other supers got mad and destroyed them. So those are the two stories told right before he walks into the U.S. government, realizing he's not as powerful as he once was, and says, I want to team up with the U.S. government.
I'm going to do what the Major did, the guy that turned into a meatball.
Yeah, we're fed all of this information, and then we go on. And I feel this isn't horrible to also add when we're talking all of the stuff that is leading into book 2. It is worth noting that the laser that they tried to take out Heavy with was Magus's technology. And he did say, hey, that's not me. I didn't do that, but they're using my technology. And so the other, like, at this point, I love the fever pitch we've hit at the end of these books where, like, every single one of these superheroes, right, there was this Cold War. And at the end of the book, they're, like, all mad at each other, right? Like, Etienne's overstepped, Heavy's overstepped, Magus is overstepped.
Val is like trying to hold everything up and just trying to be good through it all, but threatens to kill anybody.
I feel like Val removed herself and lives in space now.
Yes. We do find out that isn't like, I love this because what I'll say is, right, Mike, we find out more, but like all of that is there. So like if you're paying attention, if you're like Carin and actually reading closely, like we do see that. Like Val in the 60s is on Earth listening to record musics, and now whenever Val's around, she's somewhere in space.
Yeah, it gets to the whole, like, Kieron Gillen has said a lot of times, like, she is not Superman, but it's, like, hard to not see the Superman analog, especially with her just always trying to do the right thing and realizing you just can't do it. You can't be everywhere at once, and the harder you try to, like, shepherd someone, hold on to it, the more it slips through your fingers and something will happen, which... It will, as we get to Volume 2 and Volume 3. But yeah, Carin, do you want to go on, and did you have any last thoughts about the whole Volume 1? How excited are you to keep reading to this? Are you going to keep reading the Power Fantasy?
Oh, I will totally keep reading. I have a lot of books that I am in the middle of right now, though, so I have to finish. That's not true. I have 3 books I'm in the middle of right now, so I need to finish those before I can.
That's a low average for you.
I'm actually, because we don't have the volumes for the rest of them, since we have the issues. I might take an issue like when I go to pick somebody, like one of the kids up, because those are fast, and I feel like whenever I read a book when I'm picking up the kids, I get like 4 pages in, and then I'm like, oh, now I have to put it down. So that might be perfect.
Yep. It's another great quote I found from Kieron Gillen about writing villains. And I think Naj would really appreciate, because this is what she always talks about. He says, I don't really write villains. I write people who make terrible errors. But people have selected different people as the villain, and it says much more about them than I think the book.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, like Najma Salam, who was that your favorite episode of Babylon 5, Mike?
No, it was, I think Jaina Mystery was my favorite for the Geometry of Shadows.
Okay, so just
She was like the Fall of Night, I think, was Naj.
Was it the Fall of Night? I want to make sure I get it right.
Gotta be right about these things. These things matter, Dre.
If you're not right, then somebody comes in and actuallys you.
I was right. I was right. Actually, I was right. Looking at the spreadsheet that I keep to say I'm right.
Okay, do we get to count that as an
because I'm right and Dre will not talk because I am right.
Do we get to count that as an actually for you, Mike? You are the scorekeeper. You are the keeper of dreams and scores.
I'm getting a star point on the Slater family chore chart for that one.
So absolutely. A better way to think about it is like your characters should be fleshed out, and all of these characters are fleshed out.
Yeah.
So by the way, Mike, we're at the very end. Let's see, Carin, do you have enough in your, you got to check this out, layer cake that you have built? We've got 4 levels of this truff, or what is it called when you mix a bunch of things like on top of each other? It's a French
like
joke.
A parfait.
Or...
I'll take parfait. Parfait works.
Mike and I both came up with parfait. You can tell where our brains are at.
Perfect.
Mike, you said I could do 2 at the end if I remembered.
So far we have assistant to the villain was your one earlier.
Was my first one. Right now, Zoe and I are watching Silo on Apple TV, and it's very similar to Lost in the fact that, like, you're dumped in the middle of nowhere with these people, and then you have to figure out, like, what's going on. And Zoe and I are not patient people, so we keep fast-forwarding through parts of the episode. We're like, I know you're building drama, but it's pissing us off, so we're going to fast-forward through this. But it's pretty fun. My favorite part about it was, like, we got Apple TV recently, and so I was looking for good things to watch, and that came up, and I was like, sure, why not? And I put the first episode on, and Zoe and I have been watching Supernatural. And so she walks in and she's like, why aren't we watching Supernatural? And I was like, well, you weren't here, so I put this on as something I want to watch. And she was like, no, switch. And I was like, no, I'm going to finish this episode and then we'll watch it. And she ended up sitting down and finishing the episode with me, and we finished it. And she was like, okay, now we need to watch the next one. And like, she got really into it. So that's what another thing for you to check out is it's called Silo. It's on Apple TV.
Very nice. Dre, how about you? Is there anything you think that the listeners should check out that's not the Power Fantasy?
You know what? I don't live by your rules, man. I'm the heavy tier magus. I'm going to say check out volumes 2 and 3. I've seen a lot of stuff recently, and they don't exceed that. That is coming up. You got plenty of time. Seriously, check them out. This was amazing, Mike. Yeah, that's what I got to check out, because I've seen some other stuff recently, but it's going to sound weird. It doesn't elevate to the level of me being like super excited about it, a la Ghosts, right? And we have certainly given Dropout TV their due this episode. So I feel like that would be cheating at this point to do it. Okay, Mike, what about you? You could do Power Fantasy too.
Oh, I'm going to become close because for all my research, I'm going to do a couple of side things. Kieron Gillen's podcast. I highly recommend that. What he does is he has on other comic creators. So he has on, like, there's a series he finished up recently with all the other creators behind the Power Fantasy, if you want a lot more about that. But he talks to Jonathan Hickman in one episode and just a lot of really good comic creators about what it means to be a creator in the industry. And then my other recommendation is going to be his current image series he has going on. It's called Die Loaded. I just for Father's Day got an amazing hardcover gift of the first volume of Die, which, just like everything Kieron Gillen writes, is so worth looking up. I read it on Hoopla at first, which I really loved it. I love having Hoopla, but gosh, Stephanie Hahn, the illustrator, she draws this beautiful, like, watercolor illustrated images that just don't do justice looking at your phone. So I get to go through, re-experience the whole series in a giant hardcover absolute edition. So yeah, check out Die and Die Loaded by Kieron Gillen from Image Comics.
I have to come back. I have so many more things you guys got to check out.
And so many more you could easily actually meet. That's not even a hard game. We're going to have to up the stakes next time.
We'll get you to that jacket level of guesting pretty soon.
So check I always do, Karen. Any socials or places you want people to check you out?
No.
Okay, that's
I want you to, I was going to say, just check out the podcast with Andy. That's a lot of fun if you've got kids.
Yeah.
If you have favorite books from your childhood that I have not read, which is possible, shoot me an email. That's at heyhaveyoureadthis@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we didn't say, but I'm on every third episode with Andy. We turn it into a comic podcast. We talked about all of the first 3 volumes of Squirrel Girl. Yep.
Yeah.
And now we're on to the Double Trouble series with Spider-Man, Venom, and Miles Morales. So, yeah, check that out as well.
And I missed the Loki one somewhere in there too, Mike. I think I'm 4 or 5
there's a Loki
episodes
issue too.
I've caught most, but Tales from the Fourth Grade Nothing is going to rope me back in. So, of course, hey, have you read this yet? Got to check that out. It's got a pretty good theme song, Mike. Pretty catchy. Just saying. I'll say that. Of course, you can find Mike most places as Slatron. That's Slatron. And then you got to check out the amazing MikeSlater.com, a fantastic website that has so much. I can't wait to see what you do here, Mike. You could make a pyramid of reading nerds. I know I'd be on the 3rd tier or whatever, which does make me sad.
I got to get inspired by these infographics. They're so rich in these comics.
Yeah. So absolutely there. So MikeSlater.com. And then I'm Nerd Numbers most places on the internet. And I might be doing more stuff. Hopefully, Mike. But you have inspired me, and I hope I can follow in your footsteps. So thanks, everybody. The Power Fantasy Volume 2. Go read it. Like, just read it. And I will say this. Not only should you read it, I cannot wait to see who we add to our core of superpowered beings and what their powers are, because there is a guest coming for that, and you're going to want to check it out. All right, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers, all.
Bye.